come. May God thy gold refine till all success.
So let's go. Do you have? I want to hear a fun story about you and Mom. Do you have any funny ones off the top of your head?
No.
All right. What about a story about Dedo?
Dedo's full of fun stories.
Because I always have such a strange perspective of Dedo, especially when I talk to everyone else in the family. I was always I don't know, his relationship with me was, I never really had a bad memory with him, except for him asking me to sing when I didn't want to or trying to pop a pimple. That was the extent of it.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Look, Dedo was a unique individual, let's call it that. And very strict, very demanding, and even though he was caring, he was very brutal with the kids. I hate to say that way, but that's what it was. But as far as funny stories, Jesus Christ, there's plenty of them, like driving down to Huff Church in Pennsylvania because we're going to play, and the front wheel of the vehicle just breaks off and goes down Route 22. And I had to go chase the damn wheel, bring it back, then take wheels off the back of the wheel of the truck, knock out the studs, put them together in a front wheel, which all broke off, just so we could put the wheel back on so we could get to work because we had to play at 8 o'clock and it was already 6. And then you get there and you're covered with dirt and nasty stuff. I'm not sure that's exactly funny, but
it's kind of funny to imagine just like, all right, you're gonna stay below the lighting, like scoot in the back a little bit, cover all the dirtiness.
yeah, exactly. So, or we went to the beach once and he went in a black suit, but he did take his shoes off and rolled up his pants a little and took his socks off. That's as comfortable as he got. Here's another funny story where we put a boat together, bought this free boat that had no engine or anything that we put together from a junkyard. It wasn't going fast enough, so we cut the outdrive and we welded it together with different gears so it would go faster. And we went to Per Town Boy, dropped the boat in. We went about 1 mile out. He gunned it. The engine blew up, and we were stuck in the middle of the water 1 mile away for about 4 or 5 hours. And me and my brother had to jump into the water with the ropes wrapped around us. And we had to swim to try to pull the boat back to the shore.
Did you guys know very well how to swim?
We had no choice. We had to swim. When we got really tired, we went into the boat, and my sisters were paddling. And then we would jump back in, and we continued doing this until some poor soul finally saw us and tied us and brought us back. And then by that time, the high tide was low tide. So the ramp was completely exposed. So we could not get the boat out of the water. So we were in the water trying to push the boat up while my dad was trying to spin the tires. And that didn't work. So then this drunk guy came out of the bar, had a Mustang, and he was going to help us. So he tied the Mustang with the rope to the van that we had that was tied to the boat. And we were in the water trying to push it. Unfortunately, the parking lot had stones in it, not a blacktop. So he was throwing all the stones at the van, broke the windshield on the van.
Oh, goddamn.
So, yeah, funny stories like that, yes.
Yes.
Some people may call it child abuse, but we thought it was funny.
Maybe it gave you character.
You know what? If it doesn't kill you, it makes you strong.
Mhm. There's a weird truth to that. Like I always talk about messing up the like we were talking about yesterday. That man, it's one of those strange things that it's almost like a blessing now after it happened. hmm
Told you, everything happens for a reason. You may not understand it why, but maybe that was God's way of saying, "Hey, dumbass,
Yeah.
stop and slow down because you are going to kill yourself. So I'm just
hmm
going to give you a little warning and
Yeah.
take a little piece off of you, and hopefully it worked."
Yes. Slowing down is the perfect way to say it. I really did start to after that happened. Start to respect my body more, be a little more careful. I've done some stupid shit afterwards, but I'm now much more conscious of it. Not really about the joyriding. Hmm. It's kind of surprising that anyone makes it past the teenage years.
Look, we all go through puberty. We all go through this age where we think we're invincible. We think there's nothing bad that can happen to us, as you can prove with your stump. It does. You know, I have not been as fortunate as you, but I did flip a couple cars upside down and screwed up my back and screwed up my knees and everything else. But luckily, I'm still in one piece.
Mhm.
But yeah, eventually you realize, you know what? We're just a little speck in the universe, and we're not in control, whether we like it or not. So,
I'm laughing at the thought that I hear you still have like a nice joyride with the car you have, the Cadillac.
look, boys will be boys. We will never grow up, even though we have to. We still like our toys. That's why I have a car, yes. That is, as I call it, the garage me. It's, well, it's not something that you should be driving when you're 20 because you will kill yourself or you will basically lose your license on the first day you're driving it.
That's what I keep hearing. Yeah.
Exactly. I also have two motorcycles sitting over there. I don't ride like I used to. I don't think that I'm invincible anymore and that it cannot happen to me because it actually did happen to me twice that
In the motorcycle.
on a motorcycle where somebody cut me off. I ended up on Route 23 on all fours and my
Oh,
motorcycle about half a mile away from me.
would you have a leather jacket or like gloves on when you rode, or was it?
No, unfortunately, I had the jacket. I had no gloves or anything else. So if you talk to Annie, she'll tell you when I came back because after I got up, the gentleman that pulled out in front of me and cut me off, he disappeared
No.
because, of course, he didn't want to be part of it. So the whole Route 23 stopped. I went and hopped along until I got to my motorcycle, picked it up, pulled it over to the side. It did start. I sat on top of it and I tried to put it in gear, and then I realized the gear shift was missing. So somehow I managed with hand to just push it in the first gear. I got on it and I kind of rode it back home.
Were you in shock or anything?
I
Like were your knees skinned or?
I must have been in shock because I didn't feel any pain. I came home. I literally just opened up the garage, pushed the motorcycle in, let it fall on the floor, sat in my car, and went to work. Okay. And when I got to work, that's when the pain came in, and I realized both of my knees were wide open, my pants were ripped open, my both of my wrists were open. So I had to call Annie. Tell her to bring me new pants.
Not the fact they still went to work.
Okay. And then all I did whole day was basically nurse my wounds with alcohol swabs and everything else. And then I had to take 2 days off because I couldn't walk. Because my knees locked up and my hands locked up and everything else. But luckily, everything still functions.
Yeah.
So again, if it wasn't for bad luck, it wouldn't be any luck at all. So some idiot cuts me off. I hit him sideways, fly over his car. But I was lucky enough to survive
Yeah.
and not get hurt. Like I said, I removed some skin, but that's better than breaking bones or waking up dead.
And I love the fact that you say with like boys, there's always gonna be that little part of you, hopefully, that still loves to get the adrenaline pumping, go out and just feel the wind ripping by.
Yeah. Look, again, I'm not saying that I do this, but occasionally you get this urge to be stupid. So we have beautiful back roads over here. I will sit in a car once a week just to keep it rolling, go on the back roads, open it up a little to about 120, 130.
A little bit.
Okay. And then, okay, I get it out of my system and I bring it back, put it in the garage, clean up the dust, and that's it.
Mhm.
And the same thing with the motorcycle. I don't go stupid anymore, but I'll just sit on it and ride around the back roads. Yeah, occasionally I pop the clutch just to bring the front up a little, just
Just a little.
just to enjoy that wheelie. Like,
Mhm.
ooh, this is
Uh-huh.
so exciting, and I go, ooh, this is dumb. If I fall, it's gonna hurt.
Uh-huh.
I drop it back down. I had my fun.
Mhm.
Enough.
Oh, do you have any advice for a young speed demon out there who loves the adrenaline?
Uh, I don't think there is advice. I call them organ donors. Okay. Anytime I see him doing these stupid things, weaving in and out of traffic and doing stupid stuff on the roads and on the highways and passing on a double yellow line, just like, yep, we will get away with it 9 out of 10 times. But the 10th time,
Hmm.
it's gonna hurt. And with any luck, it will only pick up a couple pieces of your body. And again, like I said, there is no advice because young kids don't listen. They have all the answers. They know everything. It can't happen to me.
Hmm.
But that's okay. Like I said, I was the same way, and unfortunately, it did happen to me. So, and I was lucky enough that I survived. So, my advice is don't do it. You won't listen to me anyways. But the only advice I have is after you get hurt once and you realize you are capable of getting hurt, slow down a little because the next time you might not be as lucky.
Yeah, it might not hurt at all.
Well, that's the other thing is that, yeah, wow, this, I feel nothing. You know why? Because you're no longer here.
Wow. Mm.
All right. What else you
Uh-huh.
got?
Something popped in my head. I was trying to grab back onto it, kind of like, yeah.
You're too young for that. Come on.
No, right. Okay. Refocusing.
Yeah, exactly. It's us old people that just go,
Hmm.
what the hell are we talking
Oh.
about?
How about that game last night?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I hate sports, so don't even go there. Okay. No, actually, I don't hate sports. I just don't find them interesting.
Hmm. Yeah, I was talking to mom about that the other day. Like, that's a weird part of our family that's a huge part of America, it seems, that we're just not really involved in at all. Like, every now and then I'll watch some UFC, but aside from that, nah, not a big sport guy.
Look, I look at it this way. These gentlemen and ladies that play sports for a living are lucky enough to basically have the best job in the world, right? It is a dream of every kid basically to run around, chase a ball, and get paid for it.
Hmm.
So some of them get lucky and make millions and millions of dollars.
It's fucking wild.
And they're basically arrogant a-holes. Okay? Instead of saying, God, thank you for giving me this opportunity that I can be so rich and so comfortable doing basically nothing other than exercising and playing football or baseball or basketball or soccer. So to me, again, it does nothing. It's not that I hate sports. I love playing any sport you mention. Do I want to watch it? No.
Mhm.
All I see is a bunch of millionaires chasing a ball and being arrogant. So, does nothing for me. Sorry.
Oh, I'm curious. Did you have a dream job? Like, I guess when you were younger, that job that was like, oh,
Oh, yeah.
hmm
When I was 6 years old, I wanted to be a tractor driver.
hmm
I thought that was cool
yeah.
because I'm still from the age where I hate to say it this way, but we had horses pulling wagons where I used to live. Okay, so when you saw a tractor and we were plowing the fields, I was like, one day I'm gonna be a tractorista.
Tractorista.
And
Those are
when we
some
used,
huge fucking tractors too.
yeah, so well, in those days they were not, but again, I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. As a matter of fact, I buried a bulldozer
Hmm.
in a ditch because they used to leave the equipment in the fields. And I was so excited to see one sitting in the middle of the field. And they had these drainage ditches, which were about 2 meters, which was about 6 feet deep. And I went and I sat in this bulldozer and I was pulling every lever and pushing every button. And all of a sudden, the son of a bitch started. I have no idea how, but it did. And that was even more exciting because now it made noise.
Oh.
So I started pulling levers and I pulled the wrong lever and it started moving forward, except I had no idea how to stop it. So I jumped off the damn thing and the thing just went until it came to that ditch and went. And
Imagine a kid standing hands on the hips,
Yep.
nodding their
And I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I ran so fast you couldn't catch me. You didn't see me in that field. A Superman. Never told that story to anybody.
This is a fictional story.
Exactly. You never saw it on live TV.
Man, what was that transition like moving from Slovakia to America?
Unique.
Yes, I bet.
That's the only way I can describe it.
Hmm?
Is culturally a shock. Food wise, a shock. Space wise, a shock. Having a father all of a sudden, a shock.
Uh-huh.
My father was not a very polite gentleman when it came to dealing with us. So I came here and we just loaded up the car. We were sitting in the car driving from the airport. So I know this man now for a whopping at least hour.
Oh.
And he's going around and asking questions and how did you do in school and blah 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 blah. So when it came to me, unfortunately I had B's and C's because it was just at the time where, again, being a boy, I was a little adventurous.
Hmm.
I was doing stupid things. I was jumping and I landed on a rock with my hand behind my back and I had a double compound fracture. My hand literally fell off and the bones came out. So I was in a hospital for about, forget, 3 months to heal that. While I was in a hospital, there was an outbreak of, I believe they call it jaundice in the region, and I caught jaundice. I ended up in another hospital. I went from one hospital to another hospital. So I was in a hospital for over 6 months straight.
And what were you, like 11 at this time?
Probably somewhere in around 10, 11 years old. So in there, all the education continued like you were going to normal school because the whole country was on the same schedule, same studies, same subjects. But when you're in a hospital, you kind of don't pay attention and all that other stuff. So when I came back to the real school and started taking tests, it was not going as smoothly as it should. So I did tell him that I had B's and C's, and his response was something to the extent, "Well, if you're going to be a dumbass, don't worry, they have shovels for you."
Welcome to America.
Yeah, I was like, okay.
Uh-huh.
That was the welcome, happy-go-lucky dad. So
Man, that still strikes me. The fact that when I think of my time with Dedo, it was pretty much all love, and not, I'm not saying that as a good or bad thing, but it almost seems like he was a different person.
look, I think Dedo, he was brought up at a different time, and I don't think he could allow himself to show compassion or love. It wasn't manly. So he always had to be this tough man and always strict and all that. So I think that was a big part of it. There was another big part. He had many, many accidents. Go figure. Talk about young men doing stupid things. And he had some severe injuries, and specifically to his head as well. So I
I didn't know he
think,
had a head injury.
oh, big time. He went through a windshield.
Oh.
So I think his front lobe got damaged because that's where he hit.
Mm.
And if you know anything about brain, that's where the caring, compassion comes from. So I think it was a combination of a lot of things.
Mhm.
Look, it is what it is. He couldn't change it, so you had to deal with it and work around it. That's all.
Mhm.
But I like you said, the only thing you knew was love, right? And that's awesome. At least at the end, he kind of tried.
Mhm.
He still wouldn't allow himself to be one of those where I don't think anytime you came here he would run outside
Like the dog.
well, no, like if Riley comes in, I go
Uh-huh.
outside, I'll take her out of the car, I'll pick her up, I'll give her a hug and everything else. He never did that. But
Mhm.
if you came to him, he would pick you up and hug you.
Mhm.
So, like I said, he didn't initiate it. Therefore, he still proved that he's the man.
Mhm.
But okay, I'll show you a little bit more
Mhm.
now.
Oh, I'm curious. What do you think are like the good qualities of like an ideal man? Because I also grew up with some of that called like men don't cry sort of mentality. Real tough.
Me.
Yeah.
Look, I think that unfortunately in today's society, men are not allowed to be men. Okay, it seems to be like an offense
Mm.
against females, and I don't understand that at all. And I really don't care. I still hold doors open for females. Okay, I still say good morning. If somebody comes in a pretty dress, I say, hey, you know what? You look very pretty today.
Mhm.
I know it's not politically correct, but basically, a good man basically has to know that he's confident in himself. If he's confident in himself, then it shows at everything he does, at his job, at his what you call it behavior towards other people. The people that always put somebody down,
Mm.
it's because they're missing something and they're afraid that you are gonna see their weakness. So the defense is to be rude.
Mm.
So, like I said, a quality good man, I'm not even sure something like that exists. But if you're confident in yourself and you're confident in what you're doing, you will not be rude, you will not be obnoxious, you'll be not be forceful, but you will prove that you can do or accomplish what you said you can. That's it. Like I said, show everybody respect always. Hopefully, they'll opine and show you respect back. If they don't take it as an insult. You just say, okay, I'll stay away from this individual. Obviously, we're not from the same planet, so let him find his kind. I'll find my kind. That's
Mhm.
all.
Mm. Uh, I'm gonna ask I guess a kind of silly question. How do you think you become self confident, like genuinely, not bravado, acting, faking it?
That is a tough question. I'm not even sure there is an answer for that. Okay. Um, I think when I was young, and even when I came to this country, and for many years, I was extremely, extremely bashful. And if you try to just send me to ask someone a question, I would freeze to the point where I couldn't talk, I couldn't walk. Again, back to my dad. Okay, he knew I had this issue, so he would drive in we'd be going somewhere. We would stop in the middle of nowhere at somebody's stranger's house and just go in there and tell them you have to use the bathroom.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And I would be like terrified because number one, I don't know who these people are. I'm sure they would think I'm a freaking retard for doing it, but this was his way of trying to teach me.
Mhm.
Uh,
Hello, buddy and pal.
okay.
It's okay.
Can you divert them before they knock over the camera or something?
Yes, come on.
So,
Sorry.
You're good, you're good.
Come on, let's go. Get out of here.
anyways,
None of your business here, guys. Go.
until I recognized that I had to overcome that fear, I was literally almost a prisoner in my own body. Okay. So my father forcing me didn't actually help. It made it even worse because I was even more afraid. So I had to force myself to do things that I was uncomfortable with.
But like at a rate that you were willing to, not the. I'll shut up for a second.
No. I mean, look, eventually you will realize that you're limiting yourself. And if you want to move ahead, then you have to overcome that limitation. And that's what was forcing me to change my behavior. And I would be terrified sometimes, but I would walk up to a total stranger and just start a conversation. And my adrenaline would be crazy. My face would turn red. I would get the jitters, you know. But over time, it got easier and easier and easier. And that actually allowed me to start talking with girls. Okay. There's another factor right there.
Hell yeah.
That drive is crazy, right? But if you're scared of it, you're kind of limiting yourself. So maybe that was the driving factor. That, you know what?
Well, extra incentive.
I need to get past this point in order to move up in my life. And I don't know how it happened, but over time, it kind of disappeared. So whether it be on stage, singing, right, or being in the meeting and leading the meeting and carrying on the conversation, it doesn't bother me anymore. So what were we talking about?
Oh yeah, how to be
How
self-confident.
be self-confident. Okay. Like I said, I don't think there is a magic formula. You just keep on trying until you find the right recipe that fits you. And trust me, you'll know when other people respond to your behavior, whether you found the right mixture of things, whether you're being confident versus arrogant. Okay. And it's a fine line, but it is a line, and you'll know right away when you're being arrogant. You know, I'm sure when you go talk to a girl, you can be confident and you can be arrogant.
Or scared shitless.
Well, usually if she's good looking or very pretty, you're scared shitless because you're afraid of rejection. So you have to get over that fear. You go over there, you say hi, you know, but you don't go to, yo, baby,
Yeah. Like you're the hottest shit.
Yeah, exactly. Did you just fall from the sky? And now you're just arrogant a-hole.
I wonder if a pickup line ever worked for someone.
I have no idea. I usually find that if you go to a bar, this is being recorded, you find a girl that's, let's just say, not the prettiest thing in there, and just sit next to her and just start a conversation. And if you talk to her, all the other girls are sort of like, hey, why is he talking to her? Is she prettier than me? And next thing you know, they start congregating around you.
Start taking notes.
That was the secret. You want to be popular in the bar? Go ahead. Try that sometime. Like I said, you see a girl sitting on the side all by herself, well, just walk over, say hi. And the rest of them also like, Hey, what about me?
Oh,
So
I love the fact that you said just talking to anybody ended up making you able to talk to the beautiful woman, because I know there are plenty of guys who are terrified to go do that, and maybe beautiful women who are terrified to talk to an attractive man or whatever. But the fact that you don't have to go talk to that most terrifying thing initially, you can go talk to anyone, little ways, incrementally.
like I said, just create a conversation. It opens up a whole world of opportunities.
As you're saying that, story from a psychologist, Jordan Peterson. He's talking about one of his clients who's scared shitless of elevators. Like, it's a phobia. It's like, no, I can't. I'm gonna die if I go into an elevator, right? And so he's trying to help him get over this fear. And he's like, okay, can you stand in it but not ride it? Like, no, that's too fucking terrifying. Like, okay, can you stand outside of it and look at it? Too terrifying. Can you look at pictures of an elevator? Yeah, I think I can do that.
Exactly. It's called baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
All right, because sometimes it is a irrational fear, and again, you're limiting yourself and your opportunities by being scared of something that really doesn't even exist.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that elevator's not going to bite you. It's not going to jump out at you. It's not going to disappear and you're going to step and you're going to end up at the bottom of a pit 700 feet down and dead. Those are movie things. So, reality.
Yeah, baby steps towards reality. You remember when we climbed the mountain when me and Jules were really little?
Yes, I do. I believe we broke the Rother record.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we did it at the shortest amount of time. And yes, I do remember that because there were times where I thought, like, what the hell am I doing? I'm going to kill 2 kids.
That was one of the most fun things I've ever done. So, I remember we're going up the scar, and if you don't know, the scar of the mountain, it's this super flat, slanted part of the mountain, just rock, and you have to kind of grab roots and little cracks in it and climb your way up. Yeah, I remember you staying at the back, I guess, to catch us if we were.
That was exactly. So, okay, you guys go first. I'll stand right here. So when you start coming down, at least I have a chance of saving you.
Uh-huh.
Because the rocks were unfortunately also loose, so you were climbing up a smooth rock that could break away at any time. Yeah, like I said, it was fun until we reached that point, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna kill 2 kids,
Gonna kill
and then I'm gonna have to just jump off the mountain to kill myself. But we survived, went all the way to the top.
And we didn't use a trail, we just pointed up, like, all right,
Exactly.
that way's up, go.
We took some pictures, and we came back down to prove to them that we were there.
Oh, first I want to say, I remember we were standing on the top, and a wasp landed on your face. And a lady that was talking to you, she's like, do you know that a wasp just landed on your face? You're like, yeah, what would you like me to do about that?
Again, right? If you swap for it, it will bite you. So let it do its thing. It sees I was probably red like a freaking rose from climbing that damn mountain. So it probably thought I was a flower or something. It came, landed on me to see if it could eat something, found nothing, and left. But if I would have done this, it would have been like, oh my god,
Holy shit! Yeah.
So, like I said, do not be scared of something that's not hurting you. Just let it be. It's nature. Feel like this one right here. Right now is flying around because it smells the rock. So, what do you want me to do? Like, oh my god, run away?
Oh, that makes me wonder. I'm having all these flashbacks to school. We were outside for gym, and a bee comes flying around. You hear all these people screaming, like, "Oh my god, there's a fucking bee!" Like, maybe it's good to have a little bit of that dangerous mountain climbing in your life.
Again, people are scared of the dumbest things because they don't know. So it's the ignorance of the subject that's creating the unrealistic fear. Why are you scared of bugs? It's not like we're in Australia. Look at.
No.
What I'm talking about. There you go. She's landing on me. It's not like I have a scorpion climbing on top of me. And even if a scorpion is climbing on top of you, what are you going to do? Swap for it so it can bite you, stab you? Okay. Leave it. Eventually, you'll find out there's nothing interesting there and leave. And or if you have an opportunity, go ping,
Boom. Yep.
and that's it. But don't go, oh my god, oh my god, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die. Well, if you continue doing that, you will. Because it gets scared from you behaving like an idiot, and it goes into defensive mode, and then whack.
Naturally, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's his defense mechanism.
Oh man, I would love to see what kids do more things like that. I don't know if en masse, but I gotta say that was just so interesting to think that was one of the most enjoyable points of my life. And other times climbing mountains, like this just feels like what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I'm missing something if I'm only ever in a very safe, quiet, calm sort of environment.
Look, in my language, there's a saying says, "Bez risku, there is no zisku." Without risk, there is no reward. Okay? And that applies to whole life. If you're always locked up in a room because you're worried about everything on the outside, you'll never get to enjoy what's available. But yeah, sitting in the car and driving, taking a risk that some idiot might run you off the. You may be the idiot that actually created yourself because you're texting or talking on the phone, not paying attention, and next thing you know, a telephone pole jumps up in front of your car and you stop. Okay, those telephone poles and trees do that sometimes. Okay.
Hello, pal.
So
little doggo's coming up.
There's risk in everything, but where do you stop and where do you start? Do I say you go in an airplane and jump out without a parachute? That's not taking a risk. That's being stupid, right? At the same time, if you're excited about flying through the air, all right, then go get trained how to jump out of an airplane with a parachute. Is there a possibility that sucker won't open and you die? Yes, there is. But if you look at the ratios, it's the same risk like driving a car, sitting on a motorcycle, getting on an airplane. It, again, I don't expect you to go and try to run across Route 80 during rush hour. And, well, let me see if I can make it to the other side.
I love the rush.
Yeah, that's just stupid. Okay, but sometimes you may find yourself on Route 80 and you have to cross it.
You never know.
Okay, so do it. That's it. Go outside, enjoy life, go climb mountains, go do sports, go get hobbies, open up your mind to everything that's out there, and maybe you'll find that little niche that you actually enjoy to the point where you want to do it for the rest of your life. And once you find that, then you'll never work in a day in your life because you're enjoying yourself every day. Think about that.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that makes me wonder. What do you think are like the key ingredients to a great life?
Key ingredients to great life. Look, there's really no key ingredient other than calmness. Okay? No drama. There is no perfect marriage. There is no perfect wife. There are no perfect kids. There is no perfect home. There is nothing in the world that's perfect.
And when you say perfect, do you mean like no problems along with it?
Exactly. Everything but everything has something attached to it that is negative. But again, it's that whole, is the cup half full or half empty, right? If you're always seeing that it's half empty, you will have a miserable life. But if you go, damn, it's still half full, totally different perspective at the same cup. And it's the same thing with life. Yeah. You think, oh, I'm going to get married. I'm going to be married to this beautiful woman and we're going to live happily ever after. Yes. And then Shrek is over and reality sets in. Okay. We all fall in love. Okay. Actually, we fall in lust. And then hopefully that turns into love. And then reality sets in. 4 or 5 years go by and all those cute little quirks that she had now become annoying. Well, let's be realistic, right? And you just have to figure out, okay, well, you know what? I'm not perfect either. I do a lot of stupid things that she hates. So it's a balance.
Mhm.
Okay. And as long as you don't flip out over any of those things, I think you'll have an excellent life. That's the same thing with kids. Kids can be a real fuck ups sometimes, okay?
Mhm.
Put you through hell. But at the end, they're your kids, and you hope that by the time they reach certain age, reality sets in and they grow up and they realize their mistakes, and then hopefully they have kids and do the same thing with theirs. So, and it's the same thing with a job. You'll find one, you'll find second one. In the beginning, it's normal to have 3, 4, 5, 6 jobs within the first 10 years because you're looking, you're searching. Okay. If you just get a job because I need a paycheck
Mhm.
and you're stuck with that job, you just screwed yourself for the rest of your life. Okay. You need to you need to take a chance, and hopefully there will be a reward.
Mhm.
Okay. When I was younger, much younger, um, I had a wonderful job with Local 68. I was a head electrician at 101 Hudson Street. Very nice pay at the time of this was back in like 1994, I think. And a job opened up in Meadowlands Hilton for a chief engineer. It was a $15,000 a year pay cut for me, but I went and applied for it anyways. So, of course, the first thing I heard was like, "Are you stupid?" That was my ex-wife, of course. Why would you do that? You gotta what you call it, blah blah blah. We're losing money, but you don't know if union is a guaranteed job. It's a safe job. Blah. No, I did not want to be the same thing for the rest of my life. And the union says, okay, you go there, you work there, you go there, you go there. So I took a chance on it. And to be honest with you, when I applied for it, the gentleman actually said that they were not interested. But again, if it wasn't for bad luck or good luck, whatever you want to call it, about 3 weeks later, I received a call from that gentleman. And this is exactly what he said. The guy that I hired decided last minute that he doesn't want the job. So I'm screwed right now. Do you want the job or not? I'm like, what? what? You know, actually, the first thing I said is, this a joke? Okay. He goes, no, I'm serious. I'm really screwed here. I need a guy right now. And you were the only other one that I had possibly thought about. So, you want the job or not? Like, okay. So that's how I ended up going there and becoming a chief engineer instead of head electrician for 101 Hudson Street. Like I said, took a $15,000 pay cut to do it, but within year and a half, I was making $20,000 more. Okay, because they actually recognized my abilities, and I saved them a lot of money, and their budget dropped down tremendously for OPEX, and they rewarded me for it. So I took a giant risk, especially since I had 2 children, mortgage, and a wife, you know. But I did not want to be stuck where I was. It was a job, and I didn't want a job. I wanted a career. If that's, like I said, and I enjoy what I do. So by enjoying what I do, I don't really work per se. I go to work. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy dealing with people. I enjoy dealing with numbers. I enjoy dealing with calculations. The politics I could deal without, but that's everywhere. So, like I said, don't ever just give up or be afraid to take a chance because you may be missing on an opportunity that you never even knew existed.
Yeah.
Philosophy of life.
Yes.
I
The
never knew I
school of
was this deep.
yes. School of Uncle Juicy.
Yeah.
uh no, that's funny what you say about the politics. Like I just kinda wanna come here. I want to get the job done efficiently. and all the, I don't know, what would you even call the politics? Is it drama? Is it people having ulterior motives, not being able to compromise? Like,
I think, and I don't want to say this the incorrect way because somebody might actually see this and get upset. But there's a lot of people out there that do not feel confident in their job, in their position, in their abilities. And those people mask it with being politicians. They create situations that make no sense. They demand things that are unattainable. And when they can't get them, they get all upset and they all start sending emails and have meetings and all this. And I hate that. I don't want to be discussing a problem for 6 weeks. I'd rather spend 1 week in the pits working on it and fixing it. That's not how they work. And that's the politics. Like I said, whether that person is a owner and because they fell into the money, they really don't know how to control it, but they feel that they have to, so they become politicians. Or whether you have a boss that has no ability in that field at all and is trying to cover up for it because he feels insignificant compared to you. uh, Like I said, it's politics, which I hate. I don't care. I've always said, look, this is my job. These are my responsibilities. I'll do it best of my abilities. If you have a problem with it, please explain to me what I'm doing wrong. If you don't know what I'm doing wrong, then shut up. Because this has been my theory in life, and my wife laughs at me because I said, I am always right unless you can prove me wrong. It sounds stupid, but why would I be arguing with you about something you know nothing about? Okay? Like I said, if you have a proof or you can show it to me, then just do it. We're not arguing at this point. You are pointing out where I made a mistake. But if you don't have the right answer, don't tell me I'm doing it wrong. So therefore, by default, I am right unless you can prove me wrong.
Or maybe we're both wrong.
It's
But I
very,
get what you're
it is
saying.
very possible that I am completely wrong in what I'm saying. But then again, you yelling at me and telling me I'm wrong, but you can't prove me wrong.
Like, do you have a solution, or are you
Yeah,
just yelling at me?
exactly. You're accomplishing absolutely nothing. So that's the politics, right? Stop this nonsense. I'm not interested. Give me the solution or leave me the F alone, and I'll see if I can come up with the solution. That's it.
Oh, how do you define politics? Like, when you say, what's the definition you have?
Well, there is your politics right there. Whether it actually has to do with politics or not, it's people that are unable to prove anything, but they think they're self righteous and they have to impose their opinion onto you. Don't. If you have facts, please provide them to me. I will read it. If those are true facts, then I will have no choice but to agree with you. Because, okay, well, you proved it to me. But if you have no facts, no abilities, no proof, what are we talking about? Seriously, why are we arguing about this? That is your opinion. This is my opinion. And just like the saying goes, opinions are like a-holes. Everybody has one. Okay, so what? I'm not impressed. That's it. So that's politics.
I've been starting to dive into that world a little more lately. I'm just curious about it in many different ways. And if you break down politics to people trying to get what they want, and when you have a lot of what politics is, it's the attempt to attain the power to get what you want. But it's kind of funny when you say if the person doesn't actually know anything about this subject, but they're trying to get what they want, but they don't know what they're talking about.
Exactly. Exactly. That is my problem with the world. Is that don't argue with me about something you know nothing about, because neither one of us can win this argument. I always say you can't argue with an idiot, right? Because they've been an idiot all their life, and no matter how hard you try, you'll never beat them at their own game. So let's just stop while we're ahead. Okay, we'll agree to disagree. You know what? It's a free country. Live and let live. That's it. I'll do what I want with my life. You do what you want to do with your life, and we're both happy. Don't impose your opinion on me. I will not impose my beliefs onto you. If we agree on something, you know what? That's awesome.
Mhm.
If we don't, hey, you know what? There's over 6 billion people in this world. You can find somebody that believes exactly what you are. If you can't, you got bigger problems.
I live in harmony with a bunch of people who disagree. Yeah.
That's it.
Mhm.
That's it. Like I said, this used to be That's what pisses me off about this country, because now you just entered the realm of politics,
Cool.
right? When we came to this country, this used to be known as the Great Melting Pot. And basically, what that meant is it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, green, yellow, orange. That never mattered. What mattered is that we all came here for one reason and one reason only. It's a great country. Work hard, and you will succeed, and you can have a good life. And yeah, at the end of the day, when the work was done, the Polacks went to their neighborhood where a bunch of Polacks left. The Spanish went to their neighborhood where they lived. The Russians went to their neighborhood. The blacks went to their neighborhood because, we all feel more comfortable among our own. That's not racism. That's not discrimination. It's just the way we are. It's like they say, the birds of the feather fly together. Okay. You think that a crow is discriminating against a crow because it wants no. But like I said, during the day, we all go to work. We work together. Hey, how you doing? Everything's okay. We sit down. We have a lunch together. At the end of the day, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a nice day. Maybe over the weekend we even get together for a picnic, for a party. It, None of that ever mattered. Now everything is identity politics, and everything is forced onto people, which is the worst thing. Okay? Again, taboo subject, right?
Perfect.
Homosexuality. It has existed since the beginning. I worked in the industry, the hotel industry, where maybe I would say 30-40% of all men are gay because for some reason they are attracted to that type of business. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Nobody ever cares that you're gay. If your job is a director of sales or director of housekeeping or what, as long as you're doing your job, do you think that, oh my God, he's gay. He can't do it. No, I don't care. And at the end of the day, you can ask Annie, she worked in the hotel industry. We would all go to a bar because it would be a shitty day, like every day at work. And we would get together at a bar and drink together and be together as a family, basically. And there was no, oh my God, well, we have to segregate him with her. Segregate, oh, this guy's black, this guy. Nobody cared. And like I said, it used to be the great melting pot. People were just, hey, friends. Now everything, oh my God, or LGBTQFG. I don't even know. There's so many letters in there.
This literally ends with a plus now.
Yeah,
It's
like I
a
said,
little
I,
funny.
I don't care what you are. If you're a decent human being and you do your job, that's all I care about. And don't impose your beliefs on me. Don't tell me it's a disease because I'm straight. Okay. I had believe it or not, I actually had that conversation with one of the friends at the hotel. His name was Don. Unfortunately, he passed away from a heart attack at age of 52.
Damn.
He was my age. And he always tried to convert me. Okay, every time we would go to a bar, we would get drunk, and he goes, "Come on,
Come on.
if you try it once, you'll never go back." And it was kind of funny.
Uh-huh.
But at one point, it actually reached a point where I told him, I said, "Look, you're barking up the wrong tree. If this is what makes you happy, God bless you. I'm married. I like females, and there's nothing that you have that interests me. So stop convincing me." I was like, "Well, you can't blame a guy for trying." I said, "I guess if you put it that way, fine." And that's where we left it.
Yeah.
It was no animosity, no fighting, no nothing. So, am I being racist for saying that? No. Like I said, that's your life. This is my life. Live your life. I live my life.
And the fact that you guys could joke about it is the best.
Exactly. I mean, again, I'm not stupid. I can see what he is. He's not stupid. He knows what he is. He knows what I am. So why pretend?
Mhm.
Okay, let's be honest with each other, because if you're not lying or pretending, you don't have to remember anything, because it's natural. It comes out of your mouth. The minute you start making shit up or pretending that you like somebody, somewhere along the way, you will slip.
Mm.
Especially if you get together at a bar and you start drinking.
Yeah. Hard to keep up cover.
All of a sudden, the filter shuts off, and you really can say some dumb things. So, like I said, be honest with yourself, be honest with others, and I don't think you'll have to worry about much in life.
Honesty.
Yeah, I guess you could put it that way. Yeah, honesty goes a long, long way.
Yeah. No fucking kidding. Which is so weird. Okay, so I'll try and pair this together. Politics, the game of trying to get what you want done, right? Trying to have the power to get what you want done. And it's strange that as I was growing up, lying was always just like, oh no, politicians, they just lie. Whatever, left, right side of the aisle, down the middle, doesn't matter. If you're a politician, chances are you're lying a good amount of the time. And that was always strange to me that was just accepted. Like, that's just part of the
Well,
game, man.
Unfortunately, it's sad. It is kind. It's like the joke. How do you know a politician is lying? He's talking. Okay. It is unfortunate, but like you said, it doesn't matter which side of aisle you're sitting on. You look at some of these people that are in Congress right now. They're there for 50 years. What did they accomplish in those 50 years? And they're still talking like, when we get in power, we'll do this, we'll do. You've been saying that for 50 years. The only thing I see is somehow you became a multimillionaire and the rest of us are getting poorer. So there's a disconnect here somewhere. Oh, I am a No, you're not a civil servant. You're serving yourself. And that is the problem with most of our politicians today. There is few that are actually normal people that represent us. But the ones that have been there for 30, 40, 50 years, they're not serving you. They're not serving anybody but themselves and their cohorts.
Do you think that necessarily comes along with being a career politician?
No. I think, and again, I have no proof of this. I believe most politicians, especially the ones that have been there for a long time, are ignorant scumbags that have an IQ of around 9.
Why do you think that?
Because they have been there for 50 years, they have accomplished absolutely nothing, and they've been lying and cheating and somehow managed to make millions. And when you find out, let's say Charlie Wrangler, he used to be a representative from New York, I forget which district, it doesn't really matter. Okay, he is sitting on a taxation committee, and he gets caught that he has apartments somewheres that he hasn't paid taxes on for over 30 years. And we're talking millions and millions of dollars. And with a straight face, he says, well, I didn't know the tax law. But you're the guy that writes the law. And nobody's questioning it. It's like, well, then, if you don't know the tax law, you shouldn't be there, right? It's like, well, I'm the chief engineer of the property, but I had no idea how anything works. Then why are you there?
Then you go to Cuba.
Well, seriously, like I said, you name one politician that is intellectual.
Tulsi Gabbard. She was Dan Crenshaw. Those are two that I liked.
Is she still a politician?
I think so. She actually might have left Congress very recently.
Exactly. You get my point? Okay, she was there, I forget how many years, maybe 8 or 10. And she's gone because I don't think the people that can't deal, once they realize what it's all about, the good people usually leave.
Which makes me wonder, like, how the... Okay, two things. How important is politics in the state of our government to the quality of our life? One. And two, how to improve that system?
Well, unfortunately, those people make the laws that govern everything, right? From taxes to business permits to drilling permits to whatever you can think of, they have their hands in. All right. You want to put a, when I lived in Wayne, you want to put a small shed, 10 by 10 shed on your property. You can't unless you go to the government to get a permit, a permission, pay for that permission, then have some idiot come over there and tell you that you built it incorrectly, so you have to redo it according to him. And when you show him the code, instead of saying, "Ooh, I made a mistake," now it's a pissing contest. Okay, and you're sitting there, but you're not allowed to use that shed until your permits are closed. It just
To
like
build a shed.
yeah, it sounds stupid. I mean, in Wayne, you actually needed a permit to paint your house. Hi.
That's a good question.
Okay. What do you care if I paint my house or not? I want to improve my property and make it look better, and you have to be involved in it. But there's a reason why. Because number one, you have to go apply for a permit. So you just give them $100 for the fact that you're going to paint your house. And then, because you painted your house, your property value increased because now it's worth more. So what do? We raise your taxes for it. So this is the counter incentive that the government creates for people because if you improve where you live, you have to pay more for it. Why? What do you care? So most people just go, you know what? I'm not going to improve anything. Let it freaking run rent down. So this way my taxes are nice and low. And then people go like, whoa, the neighborhood looks like shit. Well, you know what? It's a giant circle. And if you pop the ball right here, it pops everywhere. It's not like you can put a hole in the balloon and go, okay, the rest of the balloon is okay. No. So that's the problem. The government just sticks its hand into everything. Look at the inflation right now. Look at the cost of gasoline. Why are we not drilling more? Because there are politicians over there that have a lobby that say we have to go green. Now you're not old enough, but I am. In early 70s, the same people started off that we're going to a small ice age. Okay? Then the ice age didn't happen, so we started with something called the ozone problem. We are all going to burn up under the sun because the ozone is depleting and it's going to disappear. And that didn't happen. So then we started with the global warming, and New York City by year 2000 is going to be under 3 feet of water. Well, that didn't happen. So then they went and changed it into, okay, 2010, it's definitely good. And then they started creating all of these emails, sending them back and forth in the numbers to show how the earth is warming. And then they get caught that they actually started changing the numbers because the numbers didn't prove. Okay. So then they changed it to climate change. What is climate change? What it's always been. It rains one day, it's cold another day, the sun shines. Of course, climate change. It has been doing it for millions of years. And you know what? It will continue doing it for millions of years. And no matter what the people do in the world, we're not stronger than Mother Nature. Mother Nature can wipe us out instantly. Okay? If, yeah, we may screw up the world a little, but Mother Nature will fix us for that very, very quickly. So, yes, we should keep the planet as clean as possible, limit the pollution as much as possible. But look at California, right? We're banning cars, only electric cars from year 3035. And 2 weeks later, what did they say? Everybody with electric car, please do not charge them because we don't have enough electricity. Okay, do you see a problem with that? Okay, you have to create an infrastructure first. Number one. Number two, if you actually start looking into this subject, but really looking into it, to create a electric car versus a regular car, the carbon footprint that car creates just by being created is about 4 times as great as a regular car. So a electric car can literally has to run for about 500,000 miles before it equals to the same pollution as a regular car. So where's the benefit? There really is no benefit other than some politicians again and some lobbyists will push this thing to make money. It doesn't help the environment at all because number one, cars, if you really look at the numbers, are only about 16% contributor to the whole carbon footprint. Everything else is heavy industry. And over 40% of that carbon footprint is created by who? Oh, yeah, China. And what is China doing right now? Building another 20, 30, 40, 50 coal plants, something that is illegal all over the world except in China. So we are here sweeping our dirt of our clean patio, and they're dumping raw sewage into the rivers. And but we're saving the planet. And you, as an individual, has to sacrifice to save the planet. Well, you're not sacrificing. You're sitting in your private jet and flying from New York to California. That carbon footprint equates to me driving my car for an entire year to work. And you come back and you do it all over again. So don't tell me that I'm the cause of the problem when you don't give a flying because I don't see you getting on a horse and riding it to California. I don't see you living in a little shed somewhere that's 500 square feet. You all live in a freaking 10, 12, 14,000 square foot houses on the shore somewheres, the ones that are supposed to be underwater already. And they yell at me, I have to cut my air conditioning back because my carbon footprint is too great. That is such a, well, I'll be polite. Okay. Like I said, you want to argue a point? Not a problem. Prove it to me. Look at all the data, look at all the numbers, and if you can show it to me that I'm incorrect, I'll be more than happy to listen. But when you look at the numbers, you realize that it's all a game. It has nothing to do with reality. It has nothing to do with saving the world. It has nothing to do with anything other than how do you transfer money from one individual to another. Except that one individual is all common man that works for a living to couple on the top. And they're mostly politicians and let's call them oligarchs, as they put it in Russia. So,
Mhm,
yeah, that's my philosophy on life.
mhm.
I may be completely wrong, but with the numbers, I'm pretty correct because I did a lot of the calculations myself. So
Mm.
mm,
That's
I just went south there, didn't I?
no, you're good. That's that is something. It's okay. Sticking on climate change for a second. So I grew up with definitely in a community leaning towards the left side of the political aisle. So naturally, I have heard very much the narrative that climate change is largely man-made due to carbon emissions. It's going to cause sea level rise, this, then, the other. Pollution increase, resources are going to be drained, all that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then recently, for XYZ reasons, I've started to look more into the opposite side of the aisle just to see what the opposing argument it is. Because it's fascinating to me that the arguments that I've heard made have if I were to only look at those, they would seem so strong. Like, no, obviously there's no counter arguments that can be made. They're saying like the majority of scientists back up this data, yada yada. But then okay, let's see. I'm curious. What is the opposing side? If I was trying to create a steel man argument for both sides of this subject, what would I find? And yeah, as I'm looking, I still have a lot more research to do for sure. But two books specifically, one called Unsettled and one called False Alarm, are breaking down how a lot of the data that they provided is showing that climate change is one, not as apocalyptic of an issue that it has been popularly advertised to be. Two, that a lot of it may have to do with natural causes, not necessarily man-made, and that there's still a lot more research to be done on those matters. And the specifics of the numbers are escaping me at the moment that I just remember the essence of it. But I guess the essence to take away is that it's really interesting that there was a strong argument on the other side of the aisle if I only decided to dip my toe in to look to see what they have to say. And that I'm noticing a lot. I don't know if it's nowadays or if it's been like this for a long while, but a lack of willingness to look at both sides of the aisle, both arguments, and maybe not saying both makes it sound like there's only two, multiple arguments, and actually look with something I heard called scientific integrity by Richard Feynman. He described it as trying to bend over backwards to see how you're maybe wrong in pursuit of truth. You're like doing these acrobatics, like, okay, I have this theory, these ideas, this data that's pointing a direction. Is there any way it could possibly be wrong? I'm gonna put all my effort towards trying to find that out. And the essence of that seems to be missing a lot in popular discussion, especially surrounding politics nowadays. That's something that's kind of worrisome to me, kind of confusing. I don't know if it's just because I don't know, it gets more views on whatever media site you're looking at or online site, and so they're making it seem all controversial and um headline grabbing just to grab your views. But if you go on the ground level, it's not as serious as people are making it sound. Serious meaning the tension between political parties at the moment. Have you noticed an increase in political tension over the last few years? Because it's something I've heard about a lot, but I'm curious. Yeah, curious what you think.
Look, unfortunately, specifically when Trump became president,
That's something I'd love to talk about.
okay, I think a lot of people lost their minds. Um, just so you understand, I don't think Trump is the greatest person in the world and greatest president and all that other stuff. Okay, he's rude, he's obnoxious, he really can't speak eloquently, but he's a good businessman. He became a president, unemployment disappeared, he cut taxes, gas went down, everything improved for everyone. Okay, and I think what he did is he exposed the idiots, otherwise known as politicians. These people for 50, 60 years have been trying to tell you, you got to do this, you got to do this. And the solution is always the same. We need more money. Okay, bless you. But it's the only solution that they have. Even now, we passed this act, we passed this act, $1 trillion here, $1 trillion here. And then a couple of months later, you hear, okay, $400 billion fraud here. Okay, it even now, Trump is not even running, but everybody is talking about him, and he's a fascist, and he overvalued his property, so we have to sue him. Uh, do I care what he does? Okay, he's just another human being in the world. But like I said, he opened up something between the politicians that nobody ever wanted to. Like I said, he opened up that Pandora's box and he showed how these people do nothing, just bullshit us to death, pass useless laws, and accomplish absolutely nothing. We started this great thing with welfare in 1950s to eliminate poverty. Well, it's 70 years later. Has poverty been eliminated? Nope. But it went from 21% to about 46% in this country. So obviously that's not the solution. But what do? We need more money. We need to give people more money. No. You can't. Human beings, whether we like it or not, are creatures of habit. You give them enough to eat, place to sleep, and all the basic needs. A lot of them are just gonna go, yeah,
Cool. Yeah.
yeah. Well, why should I go to work? Why bother? Why struggle to get the same amount I can get for nothing? Okay, and that's why our poor people are 400 pounds each. How is that possible? Okay, a true poor person would be hungry, would be cold, would have no clothes to wear, but instead we have two TVs, cell phone, fancy sneakers. Okay, 400 pounds. We are doing everything backwards, but it's easy because then I can control you. And if I give you something, you will vote for me. Once you vote for me, I don't have to worry about it because I don't have to have a job, right? And the more money I spend, the more we can, well, I don't want to use the word steal, but reallocate to a different concept. Okay, look in New York City when what's his name was mayor, the tall guy, really tall guy. Oh, he was just a mayor.
His son's in the news, or no? That might be a senator.
No. The previous mayor, not the one today. It doesn't matter. His wife was. He put her on some kind of board to run some kind of advocate group, and they gave him $1 billion. In 4 years, $1 billion disappeared, and when they asked where the money went, they don't know. They can't trace it. How? If I lost $50 out of my pocket, I would spend days, years looking for it. Okay, $1 million disappears, nothing. $1 billion disappear, we don't know. Like I said, it's a shell game, and we're just pawns that continue paying taxes for them to do whatever it is they wish. It's unfortunate, but that's what it is. I, again, I could be completely wrong, but that's how I feel because that's what I see. I look at things logically and make up my opinion based on that. That's what I said. Give me the facts, show me the results, and then I'll either agree with you or disagree with you. But don't tell me you are correct. And okay, well, where's the backup? Doesn't have to be. I said it. Oh,
What if I
okay.
just start screaming at you really
Yeah, you know,
loudly?
that reminds me back again to my father. He said, if I tell you the sky is yellow, the sky is yellow, even if it's blue. I said, that's not true. He goes, no, it is because I told you so. And I'm your father and you have to respect me.
Respect.
Yeah. See, that has nothing to do with respect. That's called fear.
Mm.
Okay. So, and that's what politicians do. They just push us into these groups. They create this fear, like you said, with the global warming and everything else and climate change. Again, I am totally for clean planet. Anybody that pollutes should automatically be put in jail. Everything they own should be taken away from them and their money utilized to clean up the mess that they created. No, seriously. No more of this. Oh, well, he hid it here. He gave it to his wife. He said that. I don't care who has it. Take it back, clean up the mess. If there's anything left over, you can have it. But no, instead, we just talk, but nothing changes. Nothing absolutely changes. Like I said, we're trying to save the planet, but let China and India do whatever the hell they want.
That's a weird one, right? Because they're using, it seems, the same mechanisms we use to get so economically prosperous. And so, like, what right do we have to look at someone using those same tactics if we can't think of a better one? Be like, no, you guys have to stay poor. You guys have to stay hungry, stay cold. That's
Yeah.
it's interesting because I love talking to you about this because often, like I said, I grew up and still often live in a very left-leaning sort of community, and I'm recognizing that I know so little about so much of the country and so much of the people and what we think. I have so much more to learn.
Look, unfortunately, there's the West Coast, there's the East Coast. Okay. And a lot of these people are quote unquote highly educated. At least they think they are, right? Because they spend $200,000, $300,000 on a worthless degree in human sciences and liberal arts. Look, that is a great subject to understand humanity. It is not a great subject to be taking to actually make money because what do you do with a degree like that? But they think because they are highly educated that we're all morons and they have to tell us how we have to live. And the truth, I've always said, take these smart people, put them all on one island, and wait a year and go back and see how many of them are still alive. They will all die because they can't do nothing, accomplish absolutely nothing. All they know is how to talk and bullshit. But when it actually comes to survival and making money and creating a project or something, no clue, no clue. But they have the answer for you. You're doing it wrong. I don't know why, but you're doing it wrong because I'm smart.
Now I'm curious, what do you think makes a good leader
What makes a good leader?
and a good follower? You know, I feel like people don't
A
ask that.
good leader is someone who's willing to jump into a trenches with the troops. Okay. If I'm leading my troops to die, I'll be the guy in the front with the gun. I'm not going to be the guy in the back.
Guys, go over
Okay,
there.
you go over there, you go over there, you go over there, okay?
You
No,
can do it.
yeah, a good leader will go, you know what, guys, we got to do this. Some of us will die, but this is what it's going to take. And I'll be the first one to grab that gun and lead my troops into battle.
So willing to sacrifice.
Well, that's it, exactly. If you're willing to put yourself on the line, then you're a good leader. If you're just talking about putting people on, no, I always say this as a joke, but it is true. If you ever saw the movie Shrek,
Mhm.
and whatever that short prince is or king is, whatever.
In the first one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember his name. It doesn't really matter.
Farquaad.
Yeah, Farquaad. You know,
Farquaad.
he's saying there, Roland, some of you will die on this quest to get Princess Fiona, but that is a risk I am willing to take. And that are typical politicians. Okay. They are willing to sacrifice all for the benefit of them.
Why do you say like I'm curious, where have you gathered the evidence to show you that most of them hold this belief?
Again, they're there for 50 years. All they do is continue raising taxes. All they do is scream and yell. Every year it's the same thing. I'm going to push grandma off the, off the cliff. I'm going to take away your Medicaid. I'm going to take away your. They're just scaring, but at the end, they accomplish absolutely nothing. They increase the budgets for themselves to operate. Then they find out they don't have enough money, so they either borrow it, hence why we have a 30 trillion deficit, or they just raise the taxes. And the minute somebody says, hey, let's balance the budget, stay within our means, they all vote no.
Mm.
So who are they sacrificing? They're not sacrificing themselves. They're sacrificing you. They're sacrificing me and the future generations because you have nothing to do with it, but there's already over $30 trillion that has to be paid back to somebody that you have to pay.
Definitely got more research to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, that it's not just a number that they put in New York on the wall, so everybody go, oh look, 30 trillion. No, that is a debt that we as United States people owe, whether it's to China, wherever we borrowed this money from, or the Fed. There is a scam too. Okay, and nobody's talking about it. But the problem is, the more you print money, the more you borrow money, the less is the dollar is worth. And as you're finding out right now with inflation and the cost of gas, yeah, you're making $20 an hour. Oh, it sounds like a good money. That's $42,000 a year. And then you go ahead and fill up your car and you spend $110. And you go like, holy shit, I just spent a whole day and a half working for nothing just to fill up my car. And then you go buy groceries and instead of paying $200, you're paying $400. And so we're like, damn, I don't have enough money to pay my. What happened? Well, what happened is the money's not worth what it used to be. So how do you make up for that? You know, so you either have to go on welfare to get some help, which a lot of people are proud enough and they don't want to do that, so they will get a second job. And I see it every day at work. These poor housekeepers that are already working for peanuts because they do the dirty work, uh, and they are truly suffering right now because they can't make enough money to just pay the basics for a living. And all our government does is just pontificate and yap and talk. And we passed the reduction. What the hell do they call it? The Inflation Reduction Act. How does spending 1.7 trillion reduce inflation? And when you ask them that question, they go, "Thank you. This conference is over." Oh, okay. Great answer. You know, let's stop it. Let's sit down and go, why is the inflation what it is? Why are we in the position that we are? What can we do to lower the cost of fuel, the cost of groceries, and everything else? But nobody's discussing that. They're all worried. I reduced the cost of Medicaid. Who gives it? Okay, really, who gives it when I can't fill up my car or feed my children?
Man, I would love to sit in on conversations between Congress people or senators when they're passing laws when they're discussing these topics? Like, what do those conversations sound like? Like, actually sound like? I've heard so much about what they sound like. If I were to sit there, what are you guys actually listening? Like, okay, this is the problem. What are some potential solutions? You go, you
Look,
go, you go.
here's a problem with our government, right? Under Mr. Obama, they passed this great thing, the Healthcare Act. I
Mhm.
forget what the hell they called it. Obamacare, everybody else refers to it, right? Every day you saw politicians on TV. You get to keep your doctor. You will reduce the cost by 50%. It's going to be available to everyone. Then you had that idiot Nancy Pelosi come in. Well, you have to pass it first before you find out what's in it. Think about that statement. What kind of idiot would say, "Well, hey, yo, you're buying this car. Just give me the money, sign the paper, and then I'll show you the car." You know what you would tell him? Here's your number one.
Mhm.
No, that's not how it works. But somehow, because they had the control of the house and they passed it. Okay, great. So we were waiting. Where's the reduction of the costs? You know what happened 2 months later? My company had to get together. All the employees got together and they basically said, due to the Health Reduction Cost Act, whatever the hell they called it, our family plan is going from $26,000 a year per employee to $38,000 a year per employee. We are going to have to change our healthcare companies. We are going to have to get greater deductions from your. So, yes, maybe two or three people got their free healthcare, but everybody else paid for it. So again, these people are great with spending other people's money. They'll never spend their money, but they'll spend everybody else's money. Nothing but nothing in the world is free. Somebody has to pay for it. Okay. And of course, so we did lose our doctors because we couldn't use the same doctors anymore. It actually went up 30% almost instantly. Even this year, they just said it went up another 15%, which is even greater than the rate of inflation. How does that work? It was supposed to reduce the cost. And nobody is like, hey, who's accountable for this mess? Guys, let's get together and find out what went wrong. Let's go through this freaking. Well, and then it turns out it's like 3,000 pages. Nobody read it. 7 lawyers wrote it, and they all represented the healthcare industry. So, yeah, they wrote it in such a way that they're all making the money. We're paying for it. And the politicians are, oh, well, it was supposed to work. We don't understand what happened. Oh, okay, because you don't care.
To step away from the nitty gritty behind that for a second, what do you think about the essence behind that that I think a lot of people supported? The essence being we want the general population, if not everybody, to have health insurance. Like, what do you think about that as an idea?
Look, again, in utopia, that is an excellent idea. In
And
reality, like
application.
in everywhere else, unfortunately, this experiment has been around for 70 years. Whether it's communism, socialism, whatever you want to call it, right? Everything is free. All the healthcare is free. Look at what's going on in England. Look at what's going on in Canada. Look what used to go in Eastern Europe. Okay. Yeah, it's free because it doesn't exist. You can't just give people everything for nothing. Everything costs money. Doctors do not work for free. Medicine is not free. Hospitals don't build themselves for free. Okay. So it's either everybody ends up paying 70, 80% taxes on their money so everything can be provided for everyone, or you create these private industries that actually compete against each other to try to outdo each other with either performance, price, whatever it is, and then you as a consumer have to make that decision. All right, do I want to spend a lot more money to get a better service, or is this enough for me? Okay, I know it sounds bad, but it's like a car. You can go buy yourself $100,000 Cadillac, and you can go buy yourself a $30,000 Toyota. They will both get you where you need to go. This one makes you look cool and you're in luxury, but this one does the same identical thing. Okay, maybe it's a little bumpier and maybe the air conditioning doesn't work as well and it doesn't go as fast, but the goal is accomplished the same way. So again, like I said, I know that in some instances, whether it be cancer or something like that, You know, it's hard to compare that. But bottom line is, you can go to one hospital where it will cost you $1.5 million for an operation, and another hospital that will cost you $500,000 for an operation for the same operation. Yeah, but these guys are experts and all this. Look, life is not fair, right? We're all born as a free individuals in this country, and we all have the same opportunities. We do not all get the same outcomes.
I don't know if we all have the same opportunities. Like some people have different IQs, are born into families with different amount of
Uh,
economic benefit, different areas with more jobs around, things along those lines.
Again, I agree with that statement, except for one thing. There are always outliers that prove you wrong, correct? Dr. What was his name? Carson? He was running for president. Here's a man, his mom on welfare with two kids, father abandoned them. She was working at nights. They were picking cotton fields during the day, and he became the best surgeon in the United States because his mom was constantly pushing him. So the opportunity may be there if you're willing to sacrifice, work hard. Yeah, it's not as easy, but the opportunity is there.
Well, also IQ, because like there's a if you have a certain IQ, it's just, and I'm not talking about insanely low, like 80 or 70 or something. But if you have an IQ of like 90, 100, the odds of you becoming a doctor, it's like,
Okay, but an individual with an IQ of 80 is hardly striving to be a doctor, right? Usually these people are in high school, and by the time they're 16 years old, they already have a job in the warehouse, and they're driving the coolest car because they're the only ones with the job, while you're there sitting there and studying and worrying about how to get into college and get a degree. They may be happy where they're at.
mhm.
Okay. This is what they don't look for anything else. Like I told you, I decided to quit a job, took a pay cut to do it because I wanted to advance. The guys that I quit, Jesus Christ, 95, that's 20, 30, almost 30 years ago. Some of them are still there, okay, doing the same identical job, still getting a paycheck because you know what? It's good money, it's good benefits,
Mhm.
no headaches. I don't have to worry about anything. Some people are happy with that.
Yep.
So, not all of us have the same goals. Like me or you are not going to grow up. "Oh, I'm going to be an NBA star."
Mhm.
Okay, that's just unrealistic, right? So, do I even think I don't have the same opportunity as somebody like, I don't know, Shaquille O'Neal? Obviously, no. That's impossible for me. No matter how hard I would try, I can't grow extra 2 feet and, and dunk a ball. So, again, the opportunities exist. You have to find out your niche in life,
Mm.
hone it, create it, and be the best you can be at it. And if you do that, you'll be happy in life.
Mm.
And don't be greedy. Uh, You can have all the money in the world and still be miserable.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Okay, seriously, because it's never enough. It's never enough. It's always, I need more. I need to hoard it. I need to hold it. And why? When you die, you're not taking any of it. So enjoy it. Enjoy life. Enjoy the people you're with. Enjoy the surroundings. Enjoy nature. Okay, that's it. I hate to sound stupid, but the happiest I am is when I lay under that tree and just stare through the branches at the sun because it reminds me when I was a little boy in Slovakia laying in the field when I used to
Mhm.
go watch the cows because my grandfather had to go work in the fields and he was the cowboy for the town. So me and my brother would go watch the cows while he was working in the backyard. And like I said, that was like the greatest time of my life, just laying under the tree and the sun hitting me and enjoying it. Like, wow. And that's the feeling I get. It, the simple things in life are the greatest.
Mhm.
Like I said, you can have the greatest car, greatest money, greatest wife. It doesn't matter. It's the basics, total basics, like fresh baked bread.
Mhm.
You
Ah.
walk in, you smell that. Nobody goes, I wish I had a steak. No. You go, oh my God, give me a little bit of butter, throw it on there, and I'm in heaven. And for that instant, nothing else in the world matters. It's just a bread, you, and that smell.
Man.
And that's the points in life where you have to really enjoy. That's it.
Learn to love the little things. Yeah, man, it strikes me when you hear about these pop stars killing themselves or just not being happy with their life, and you think they have it all, the most beautiful women, highest quality drugs, the parties, the movies, the all the fame, but man, do you ever just sit in the grass and enjoy the sun, you know?
But see, that's the problem. It's never enough, right? That's why they do the drugs, because no matter what they do, they can't get happier. There's nothing that makes them happy. So they go to that next level. They try this drug, alcohol, and nothing, but nothing satisfies the craving. So what do you have left? That's why some of them commit suicide, because they realize no matter what I do, I'm unhappy, I'm uncomfortable, I'm in pain. Not in physical pain, but in mental pain. And I think mental pain is worse than physical pain, because physical pain you can kind of deal with, figure out how to live with it, overcome it. But a mental pain, if it's in your head,
figuring out how to I was learning about addiction a little bit, and this guy Gabor Mate, I always promote him to anybody who wants to learn about addiction, and he's talking about all the clients he works with, and he found, because he was a specialist in addiction, he found this one commonality, that trauma was the number one cause of addiction. You have this sort of pain that you don't know how to get rid of, and what I want to relieve it. I want to relieve it, and I feel this compulsion. Okay, whatever. This drug. And people so often associate addiction with drugs. You could be addicted to food. You could be addicted to sex. You could be addicted to working out. You could be addicted to work. You could be addicted to pretty much anything, into a relationship with the thing. And so it just strikes me like, well, then what is the appropriate coping mechanism for these mental pains if it's not just an endless taking in of what in the moment pleasure, whether that could be like I said, the drugs, the working out, that this, that, and the other. That brings me to a quote like, people figured out we could put people on the moon, create nuclear energy, can talk to people thousands of miles away in a split second, but we haven't figured out how to be happy, strong, and healthy en masse. And it's so weird because you talk about something as like everyone, I would think, has access pretty much to sitting in the grass and enjoying the sun. So what's missing?
that's good. That's exactly what is missing. Uh, Nothing's missing, and that is the problem. Okay, nothing is missing. Unfortunately, especially in this country, and now it's a lot over the world as well. You have access to everything, and I mean everything. So you lost the desire to get something. Okay, when you live in a place where there is no running water, there's no cars, there's no telephones, you see a bicycle, and now you're like, oh my God, one day I'll have enough money to get a bicycle, because that's like the greatest thing in the world. Okay. And then when you finally get it, oh my God, you're polishing it every day. You just ride it a little, you get a little mud on it right away, you clean it up, you put it away, you hide it. And then you'll see a motorcycle. You're like, oh my God, that thing goes without pedaling. I need to have it. Right. So, and it's the same thing, that desire. So you go, you know what? I got to work harder. I got to work harder. I got to save money. I'm not going to waste it on nonsense. I'm going to save it and save it and save it until I can afford it. And it goes on and everything else. But when you have access to everything and get everything, and now with the modern technology, with the internet, and there is no more curiosity about anything. Whatever pops in your head, click, Google, what's this? Oh, okay. You know, again, I don't want to sound like I'm 90 or 100 years old, but I'm getting close, right? Uh, in the old days, if you needed information, you had to go to a local library. You had to pull out the little freaking card, find the right book, open it up, read about it, and go, "Oh, this is so interesting. Let me see if there's another article somewhere else in another magazine." And then you go back and cross-reference it, and you actually worked for that information. And then once you had that information, you retained it because you worked for it and you earned it. Now it's like click, click, okay. And it's even, not that I want to change the subject, but the desire for a girlfriend or a friend, it has disappeared. You guys are like overwhelmed with porn and everything else on the stupid computer, to the point where it doesn't matter what girlfriend you get, you can never be quote unquote satisfied because there's always something different out there.
Mhm.
Okay. But like I said, it's like that first bicycle you get. It's the only bicycle you got. You will treat it with the utmost respect because you worked your fucking life for it. You paid with hard earned money, and you're going to protect that investment as long as you can. And it would be the same thing with a girlfriend or a wife or a boyfriend or whatever. It's like, you know what? I worked hard to get this individual. Yeah, we have our differences and we have problems, but we need to work together to maintain that relationship. That doesn't exist anymore. Well, if you, I'm gonna take care of myself tonight.
Uh-huh.
You know, and all of a sudden that emotional connection between people disappears. We're all just a machine, and I think that's the greatest fault of today's society, and that's why you see all these suicides among young kids, is because there's no more reality. There's no more self-worth. Everything is just click, click. Ooh, look, he's got 10 clicks. Ooh, he's popular. She's not popular. Oh, they don't like me. Oh, look at. Who cares? Who gives a flying what the computer says? Okay. If I'm an individual, I'm proud of myself. I know what I can do. I know what I can accomplish. You think I care what you say about me on a freaking computer? Kiss my ass. Unfortunately, some people are not strong enough and they go crazy and either start taking drugs to escape that reality, create their own alternate reality, or in some cases, even worse, they take their life because they can't deal with the pressure because mentally they're wiped. They're completely wiped. They wake up sad. They go to bed sad. They sit in school. They're sad. They're depressed. They're in pain. Not physical pain, but they're in pain from morning to night. And eventually they're like, you know what? It's not worth it anymore. And it's unfortunate. We're destroying whole society, whole generation of people. Actually, now it's like a second generation, and nobody wants to talk about it. And you get all these psychologists and psychiatrists giving you this nonsense. Okay, and well, you know, as long as we respect this and respect that and respect this and bullying and blah blah, we're talking about everything and doing absolutely nothing. You see it, and the Congress the same thing. They pass all these anti-bullying law, and they'll arrest some kid because two boys get in a fight in a school, and oh my God, this is totally unacceptable. You know what? Sometimes you have to figure out how to resolve a conflict. Two guys fighting each other in a school, you shouldn't be putting them in jail for it. Okay, you shouldn't. Yeah, you probably say, okay, you're getting 3 days detention for being a-holes. I hope you learned your lesson. You got a broken nose and you got a freaking eye socket that looks funny. And hopefully it will teach you that, hey, you know what? Sometimes I can't get what I want. Sometimes I have to respect somebody else and their opinion. But resolution of conflicts has totally disappeared because, you know what? Everybody's a winner. Everybody's equal. No, we're not. We're not. And what is your drive to improve yourself if everybody wins all the time? Right? The whole idea was you're playing whatever game you're playing, whether it was soccer, football, we want our team to win. And you try as hard as you can. And that's why you go to practice. And that's why you exercise. And that's why you do it on your own when you have free time. You keep on throwing that ball just to get perfect at it. But if you go to a game and at the end everybody goes, "Okay, great job, everybody won, congratulations, here's a trophy, and let's all go for pizza." Do you think that kid's gonna go home? Oh man, let me get the ball and keep on throwing. Fuck you! I'm already a winner. I'm done, and I got a pizza for it, and a trophy, mom. Look, I got 3 trophies. I'm the greatest. Uh-huh. And then we watch them on America's Got Talent. Okay, these idiots that think, well, I'm a great singer. What do you mean I suck?
No one always told me I'm great.
Yeah. Uh-huh. No, no, you suck.
Uh-huh.
So that's the problem. You get in the real world, and real life bites you in the ass. It's like, oh my God, what do you mean I'm doing this wrong? I'm the best. No, you're not. No, you're effing close.
So okay, so let's see. Humility, one, being willing to actually check the results of your ideas. So let's say the everybody gets the trophy thing. Like, okay, I can see the idea behind it, but is it working? Is it actually improving people's quality of life and these kids enjoying the game, things along those lines? If it is, if it's a worthwhile thing, keep it. If it's not, be humble enough to admit I had this idea, didn't fucking work. Let's reevaluate and keep going. Two, having the joy of a struggle, like having the joy of working for something and then like going through hard work and actually getting it. So perhaps,
Desire.
yeah,
You need the desire to accomplish something, to attain something, because you earned it, and by earning it, you respect it. If you do not earn it, you do not respect it. You just take it for granted.
it just exists naturally.
Exactly, it just exists, and that's why you see people throwing out perfectly good things and everything else because it's just whatever. Nobody's like, hey, you know what? I actually worked for that. Maybe I should maintain it, clean it, take care of it, respect it.
How you define respect?
How do I define respect? That is a interesting question. Uh, Look, I guess the best way to define respect is not being rude to someone or putting them down or belittling them or talking to them like they're beneath you. Okay? In my opinion, we're equal, right? I show you respect, I expect the same thing in return. You treat me like crap, like I told you before. I'm not going to go and start treating you like crap. I'll just say, okay, you know what? Obviously, we don't belong to the same group. You go with yours, I go with mine. Uh, so that's what respect is that we're equal in every way. Okay, maybe you're starting your life. I'm already 3/4 of the way through it, right? So we may not be equal financially, knowledge wise. Who cares? You're still a human being. I'm still a human being, right? You're looking to attain your goals. I'm looking to maintain my goals at this point. So we both have desires. We want to accomplish them. And I'm not going to do anything to squish your ideas or your goals or interfere in your progress. And I expect the same from you with me. So if you come in and you're like, oh, I'm going to freaking take your job away from you and I'm going to undercut you and I'm going to write the report in such a way that makes you look bad. Now you no longer show me respect. Now we have a problem. Okay. On the other hand, if you're just like, hey, you know what? One day I'm going to be in your position. Hey, all power to you. Or let me show you exactly what I've been doing. Maybe you like the ideas. Maybe you might think I'm totally wrong and you ignore it. That's totally fine. I'm more than willing to share with you my knowledge. If you ask all of my guys that work for me, I've always said the more I can teach you, the less I have to do. Okay? Because now I'm confident that if I send you to do something, you'll do it correctly. And then that allows me to worry more about the politics and all that other BS that I don't like, but I have to do my job. So that's always been my motto in life. Like I said, the more I can teach you, the less I have to do. And the better for you because now you have more knowledge and ability, and that gives you the opportunity to move up if you choose to. That, like I said, a lot of people don't. They like it exactly where they're at. They're comfortable with what they got, and that is again part of the respect. It's like I respect that. I'm not looking for you. Oh my God, you have to be fucking president one day. No, if this is what you want to attain in life and you attained it, awesome.
Yeah.
Are you happy with it? Double awesome. Okay. Yeah. If you say, "Oh, I have to reach my goals," but you're unhappy, you're lying to me and you're lying to yourself. But if you say, this is where I wanted to go. This is as high as I wanted to go. I got there. I'm happy. I'm making the money that I wanted. I don't need anything else. You know what? Nirvana, man.
Yeah.
You just you reached your plateau and you like it then. Perfect.
Yeah.
Isn't that what life is about?
I don't know, but that does sound pretty damn good.
Again, don't try to fly to the moon and not be able to make a rocket. Right? No matter how much you're gonna stand on the table and move your arms, it ain't gonna happen. So
To find the real way.
yeah,
Not get blinded
be,
by what utopia.
yeah, be realistic. Be realistic.
Mhm.
Life is challenging. Life is unfair, but life is also rewarding.
Mm.
It is. You know, I see Riley running around here, just this carefree individual with a smile on her face chasing a dog. That's better than any booze or drugs that you could. That is a high that you can't even describe. You're just like, oh my God, look, I'm almost jealous. I wish I could be that carefree. Okay, seriously.
Mhm.
So now you got the philosophy of my life.
All right, then I'll ask the more gritty question. What did you think about January 6th?
It's the 6th day of January.
What did you think about people breaking into the Capitol and some
Well,
people not seeing the election as legitimate and using violent means to try and take control?
okay, so I guess to be as polite as I can be, I pretty much disagree with everything you said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Okay.
please.
Uh, number one, this is a free country, and if people feel that they have been wronged, as a free country, we have the right to express an opinion, right? Just as when Trump became president, and there actually was a what you call it protest in front of White House
Mm-hmm.
by Democrats,
Mm-hmm.
but that was never covered by anybody. And they were actually violent. They were the ones that were breaking down the barriers and they tried to break into but that was never pointed out. This, you had maybe six yahoos that went into what you got, the guy with the horns and everything else. Okay. People were unhappy and they should be
I think it was
because
more than 6. I think there were.
you know what I'm saying.
Mm.
Okay. There was plenty people out there that were unhappy with the results.
Mm-hmm.
The reason is because all the election rules got changed last minute. A lot of people thought it was unfair. For somehow, this is the first time ever that the number of voters was so great that it broke all the records throughout the history of the United States. Not only did Trump get the most votes ever prior to that election, Biden got more,
Mm-hmm.
which again, statistically speaking, that's almost impossible. But so, okay, people were unhappy. They started some lawsuits, which most of them got even thrown out, which again, I disagree with, not because I'm, I disagree with the election results. I think anytime there's a controversy, we need to go and investigate it to the last detail, either to prove it or disprove it.
Especially with something that important.
Exactly, especially when it comes to the election of United States. So every lawsuit that was brought up in every state should have went the whole way, let them present their facts, and if it's all crap, they look like a bunch of idiots, right? And everybody goes, okay, you showed us that you're a moron, you don't know what you're talking about, and Biden is a legitimate president. But they didn't do that. So it's either they think that there was a legitimate reason for the lawsuit, or they're just so arrogant that they don't want to even pursue it. But either way, they did injustice to everybody by doing so. Like I said, every one of those things should have been fully investigated. Lawsuit should have been all the way through, let them present it, and then at the end make the decision based on the facts, not on just dismissing it right outright. So that was number one. So yeah, you figured over 80 million people voted for Trump. They were upset. They went to protest that it was illegitimate. Okay. And then if you actually, again, look into the details of this, there are certain individuals that were starting the quote unquote riot and trying to break into the White House or Congress. That individual is now believed to be an FBI agent, and he was quote unquote he's on tape. You can still YouTube it.
I think I've heard. I didn't look
Yeah,
very deeply,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I've
I
heard.
can send you his name because I have it somewhere. And I watched him do it. He went to like 4 different locations, started moving the barriers, like we gotta go in, we gotta go in. He was investigated by FBI and released the next day, which is interesting because the morons that went in have been locked up in jail now for over a year and a half without a court case. So why is this guy special? And again, see, they create more controversy by doing this. So, yeah, should they have broken into? No, they shouldn't have. No, they did. Okay, so you know what? It's a simple trespassing. Nobody went there with machine guns. Nobody went there with bazookas. Okay, the first day they reported, oh my God, they attacked the policeman and killed him. Well, it turned out that wasn't the case. The policeman actually had a stroke or a heart attack like 3 days later because, like a typical politician or police officer, it was 400 pounds and all that exercise that he did for the first time in his life killed him. So everything has been exaggerated, but you have to look at all of the details, and the more you look at it, the more it smells.
Hmm.
So again, do I think they should have broken in? No. Do I think that the individual that shot, what was her, Loretta Bobbitt, is that what was her name? That woman that literally was walking in through the window and got shot in the neck by a police officer, and next day they honored him as a hero? He should be arrested for murder. She had no weapons. She wasn't doing anything. Why did he kill her?
I guess she was breaking him through a window, and he was panicking. He was like, ah,
Well,
people are
exactly, but
breaking
you
in.
understand these guys are professionals, right? This is what they get paid for. So this is what we have. Is can you imagine you getting stopped by a police officer and you want to get out of the car, you open up the door and you get shot? What would you be happy about it? No, right? So we expect certain professionalism from our professionals. That was not professional, but somehow there's no investigation of that. So it's just I think it's a giant farce, and they know it. That's why they have been investigating it, and that's why they threw all of the Republicans from the committee. That's why they do not want to investigate certain FBI agents. They will not allow them to come and testify. And the people that wanted to come testify, they do not want to do it live. They want to record it because they don't want people to see the answers. They want to edit them before they put them into public. And they always use it. Well, certain means and stuff that cannot be released because something with security. It's a crap. It's all crap. How is that?
Interesting. You're definitely showing me that when it comes to the details, I have much more investigation to.
Yeah, do more research on it and look from both sides.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, not just from one side. And again, I'm not disputing that Joe Biden is illegitimate. I honestly, I don't care. He's the president of the United States. Whether he's legitimate or not, according to the numbers, he had the right votes. He's the president. God bless him. I think he's a lousy president, but still, he's still the president.
What did you think about Trump's again, goddamn, I'm learning more and more how terrible I am with remembering quotes, but the essence I remember is that he essentially said the election wasn't legitimate.
Well, as a United States citizen, he has the right to say whatever he wants, right? Hillary Clinton said the same identical
Yeah,
thing.
when
No,
that's true.
seriously, she did. And not only did she say it, for 4 years, she was going across the country being interviewed every day. And they even created this thing, something called Russian collusion, if you remember. And then they had a Congress investigation. And then they had the Mueller probe. And after all of that, what did they prove? Nothing. That all of it was made up. So, again, as a United States citizen, you have the right to say whatever you want, no matter how stupid it is. That's what we call freedom of speech, right? He says, okay, then prove it. So he went to court and they wouldn't let him. I think they should have let him. And if he was not able to prove it, he would look like a fool and they would have eliminated this Trump issue forever. But instead, by doing what they did, they made him into a martyr and a freaking hero. So they, again, shot themselves in the foot with this whole thing.
Okay. Solution. Do you have any spitball ideas of solutions to what you would consider like the most important problems in America?
Do I have solutions to these problems?
Or like ideas about potential solutions?
Look,
like a brainstorm.
There are many, many problems in this country, right? Let's start off with the $1 trillion debt that we have. A simple solution is balance the budget, don't spend the money you don't have. But again, Congress will not do that because it's literally cutting their own purses. So why would they give up the power that they have right now? So that's number one. You eliminate that debt, and all of a sudden you will see how inflation starts disappearing, right? Stop attacking what you call it, carbon fuels as the enemy of the earth. That is the biggest crap that ever existed. Okay. If you look at, let's say, Mount St. Helens, when it exploded, it threw more pollution in the air in 3 hours than the entire industrial world did since 1800s. Did the planet die? It was a little messy, especially over there. Okay. But you go there now, the trees are bad. Yeah, the mountain is a little flatter. And there's some dead spots where there's still mud and rock and obviously lava. That is solid rock. But it did not kill the planet. So, yes, should we work on bettering the fuel economy of the vehicles? Improving efficiency of everything? Yes. Should we work on maintaining clean water and air? Of course. In the United States, we have so many laws with scrubbers and everything else for our plants and everything that you can literally be sitting next to it and not even know you have a coal burning plant right next to you. You go to China, you come within 300 miles of a coal burning plant, and you already know it because the whole thing is completely black, everything's covered, and every turn you go's got a freaking mask over his face because they can't. But that's okay. So you want to save the planet? Go over there and help them to clean up the freaking planet. And all of a sudden, 47% of the pollution in the world will disappear. But instead, they're attacking schmuck like you and me because, oh, you're driving a fuel burning car. Oh, that's right. And your electric comes from God.
That was a statistic I didn't look into or a number I didn't look into, but that at the moment, many electric cars, Teslas, when you charge your car, all the fossil fuels that are burned to power the electric plant end up causing more pollution than your average gasoline powered car.
It's, again, people do not want to look at the details. They look at for a sound bite and something that sounds good. They throw it
agree
out
with-
there. And again, people are lazy. They do not want to spend time to investigate and look at the numbers, calculate, and actually look at the facts. It's just like, oh, I'm for green earth. I'm for green earth. I want to save the planet. You know what? We all do. I live here. Okay. I don't want to get up one morning and go, oh, fucking planet's gone. No, it's not. And I don't want to go out there and go,
Yeah.
I can't breathe.
It's so weird to pair with like it seems for most people that I've talked to that the most important things in their lives are like on the ground things. My family, my dog, my job, my hobbies. And then on top of that, you stack these giant global and countrywide issues. It's like, well, how much time am I genuinely willing to spend doing deep research dives, hours and hours into
They
all the
don't.
layers? Yeah,
They don't. Like I said, they hear a soundbite on CNN or Fox or something. They grab it and run with it, and they have no idea what it means or what it actually represents, or if it's true for them. It doesn't matter. They already heard it, so it's got to be a fact. So,
so maybe some more critical thinking would be useful for our country. Willingness to talk to people who disagree also seems helpful.
well, again, we used to be able to sit down, have a discussion, present facts, and based on those facts, you would come up with an amicable solution to solve the problem. Instead, we all yell at each other, but the problem still exists and nothing changes. So, you know, uh, that is almost impossible to do, especially now because we're so polarized for some reason
Mm.
that just the other day, unfortunately, 18-year-old boy died. He's not really a boy, but in these days, they call you a kid until you're like 32.
Mhm.
But he had an argument with a 41-year-old man, and the 41-year-old man sat in his car and ran him over and said the reason he did is because he was a mega Republican and he was so radical that he had to kill him. I mean, how warped do you have to be to do something like that? Other than, look, you can believe whatever you want, and I may disagree with you, but at the end, I'm like, okay, well, listen, you believe your story, I'll believe my story. Have a nice life. And no, he sat in his car and killed him.
Mm. And that gets weird, man, because with these topics, especially when it comes to country and who's ruling the most powerful things, at what point is violence a useful tool? Right, and that's a I almost feel fucked up to ask that question, but there are points at which violence seems the best option. And it frightens me to think that some people seem to be getting closer to that nowadays when it comes to internal conflicts in our country. Like,
Again, look, I don't believe that violence is ever the answer. Unfortunately, when the Black Lives Matter movement started, right? You're watching it all on TV and you see all of this destruction of property, billions and billions of dollars. They're breaking glass from windows, they're setting cars on fire. What are you accomplishing?
expressing your rage.
To whom?
Hopefully, the people in power.
Well, they didn't go to Washington, right? They go in their own neighborhood and destroy it. And then you watch the reporter on CNBC as he's standing there with cars behind him on fire and people breaking windows, mostly peaceful protest. I'm like, okay, either you're blind or you're stupid. No, they're expressing their rage again towards who?
The whole system, I guess,
Okay,
towards a local
what
politician.
was Black Lives Matter all about?
That the more I've looked at this, the more it seems like there were a lot of different goals within that one umbrella name of Black Lives Matter and many different groups that made it
But
up.
how
But
did it start?
police violence,
Towards whom?
black people, and just people of color in general.
Correct. And did anybody ever look at the statistics?
Which statistics?
Well, this black violence against the cops' violence against black people. Did anybody look at the statistics?
I think some people did.
Yeah, uh-huh. And what are they? How many black people got killed by cops last year?
I'm not sure of the main number. I think the problem was proportions. Like black people getting killed proportionately compared to white people. Because from what I've heard, white and I got just to pause for a second and say that seems so weird to say black and white people. But moving aside for a second, moving past that, that overall more white people were killed, but proportionately, I think more black people were killed from police.
Well, okay, so proportionately when you compare it to the percentage of people in the country, correct? Now, let me ask you something. You walk into a black neighborhood where there's something going on. Are you going to start looking for a white guy to try to hurt?
What do you mean when you say something going on?
Well, there's a crime going on. 911 call, hey, we're getting robbed.
Mhm.
And the police go over there, and it's all black neighborhood. So what are the chances of you shooting a white guy in that neighborhood?
Probably pretty low.
Exactly. So maybe instead of looking at why proportionately, which is the stupidest thing to do, right? If you compare it to the United States, maybe
Well,
we should look at why is it that these neighborhoods proportionately create more crime, and most of this crime is against themselves. Okay, there's more black people killed every day by blacks than anybody. How many people got killed in Chicago this year?
I think the argument might be that the reasons these neighborhoods are more decrepit on average, and the reason that this culture is more pressured towards going down a route of violence is due to racist ripples when it comes to laws, people not being allowed to buy housing in nicer areas due to laws or cultural pressures, and that it's as a
Can
result.
you prove that?
I don't have the numbers off the top of my
No,
head.
no, no.
So,
Can you see? But this is what I'm talking about, right? You make a statement.
hmm
People are not allowed to buy a house in a nice neighborhood.
hmm
No, people who cannot afford to buy a house in a nice neighborhood. That's not racism.
no, I'm talking specifically. There was interview with Joe Rogan and this ex police officer. I think he worked in Brooklyn or Baltimore,
Mhm.
something along those lines. And he was talking about looking at some of the housing laws in that area, and that there were actual still restrictions in place that kind of went under the radar that were restricting people of different ethnicities.
You do know that there's federal laws against discrimination. So, how do you say in English, hogwash?
Well, that might be a question of when were the federal laws put into place compared to those local laws. Also, just people having laws that aren't being actually implemented, or if you combine it with, to move away from laws for a second, a culturally enforced, like, oh, you're just gonna wake up to a cross being burned in your front yard, even if you have the money to afford a house in this area. It's like, well, the cultural laws of the area might try and push you out. That's at least me making an argument for the other side.
Again, unfortunately, there are extremists in every sector of life, right? So, are there white fascists in this country? Of course there are. Are there some morons that still wear those white hoods on their heads and try to burn a cross? Of course there are. Most of us look at them as morons, inbred, useless, all those wonderful things. And nobody has any respect for them. But they do exist. Everything exists, unfortunately. But is it the norm? Is it worth destroying billions and billions of dollars worth of infrastructure, killing people, and unfortunately, your own neighborhoods? I don't think so.
Mm.
Okay.
I heard an interesting argument breakdown by a guy called Andrew Schultz, usually comedian, but he has a great political side platform. And he's talking about the difference between looting, rioting, and protesting. And looting, he kind of put into a separate category, like, no, there's no real excuse for that. Now you're robbing from your own community. But how long are you going to peacefully protest without things changing? Are you going to wait 10 years, 20 years, 40, 50, 60, 100 years?
But again, you are protesting what? You are creating a situation that sometimes doesn't exist. Okay? Hands up, don't shoot was a lie. You do know that, right?
What do you mean when you say that?
It was a lie. There was no hands up and don't shoot. That never existed. That was just something that was made up by a bunch of politicians and created, and there were riots all over the United States. But when it actually went to court, the witnesses said none of that ever happened. The cop didn't, what you call it, took his gun and I forget his name, put his hands up and said, "Don't shoot," and he got shot. None of that ever happened. That
Wait, you're
was
talking about with George Floyd?
yes.
I'd never heard that he had his hands up and said, "Don't shoot." What?
You've never heard of hands up, don't
I
shoot?
heard of that as like a mantra at some of the protests where people will en masse have their hands up.
Yes, because they said that that's what happened. And that's what the protests were about. That this poor innocent boy that just robbed somebody was giving up and he got shot. It wasn't the truth at all.
George Floyd, I didn't hear that he robbed someone. I thought he was getting pulled aside for driving under the influence of something. Then they found out he had some like traces of meth, and he started to
Oh,
hear
George Floyd is the one that they put
the knee on the
knee
neck.
on the neck.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm talking
Oh,
about. I'm
okay.
talking about another guy. Yeah, that again. What was there to protest? The cop is in jail for the rest of his life, like he should be for what he's done, and that's it. This justice was done. Why do we have to destroy the world about it?
Maybe it's just the system. You're okay. I'm gonna try and put myself into that shoe. Growing up in an area, the relationship with police in that area is typically one of aggression for XYZ, whatever reason. And then you hear about this friend, that friend, this family member in the past, this person nowadays having bad interaction with a police officer. And then you hear that that's been going on for decades, especially in the black community. And then you hear one popular killing kind of, there was the one, the 80s, where LA, the famous LA riots, Rodney King, I think,
Rodney King. Yeah.
yeah,
What was that all about?
where he was beaten by several police officers with batons,
Mhm.
like ferociously on footage. And so that happened decades ago. And then if you get the sense that that system still isn't changing, I'm trying to put myself in the shoes of a rioter where I just want to like show you being maybe the local politicians or the world writ large, just how much rage I have about this system
Right,
in
but
general.
rage over what?
Rage over it not
Okay.
changing.
Again, you have to look at each instance and look at all of the details. Don't look at the snippets that they put on TV and see exactly what happened. Like with Rodney King. Yes, he did get beaten up. Do you know why? Exactly. They were chasing him, probably, I don't know for how long, in a car. When they finally stopped him, he was high on meth and everything else, beat up a bunch of police officers, and he got beaten up because they were defending themselves. Yes, did they go overboard? Just like you said. They panicked, right? That's why he shot that lady. That was your statement, not mine. These guys did the same thing. They got beaten up, so they returned the favor. And all of a sudden, this turned into this giant, what you call it? Oh my God! This is what's going on every day, but there's no facts to prove it.
Well, that might have been before the age of phones where everyone can record. And so we're living in a community where this
This
is a
was
regular
recorded with
occurrence.
the camera
Mhm.
that was following that vehicle for like 2 hours.
Mhm.
So this is directly from news footage. So there was ample footage of everything. The problem is when the only thing you show on TV is a black guy laying on the ground and somebody hitting him with a baton. You don't show him before when there's five guys on top of him and he throws them up and starts beating him and kicking them.
This actually comes to, I think, a more important
Okay.
topic of poor police training. Because as I've heard two military special forces members talking about, Jocko and Tim Kennedy, great podcast if anyone's ever curious about the first one. They're describing the amount of hours they have to train before going on an op. Like something ridiculous ratio, like 18 months of training for a 6-month operation of intense, constant combative training and very intense scenarios. And then they talked about the training that police were doing, and it was ridiculously low amount of time in the range, ridiculously low training of martial arts, and the fact that you don't have a basic martial arts understanding, right? Because okay, let's talk about the chokehold for a second. If it comes to martial arts, and anybody who knows anything about MMA specifically, the most peaceful way, like if you're with your friends, your buddies, one of them gets too drunk, starts fighting stupidly, and you have to stop them. If you try to knock them out, just like blunt force, that will do so much more damage to them as opposed to if I get you in a rear naked, I can put you to sleep. And if a police officer just doesn't know how to do that effectively, and obviously you stop when they're incapacitated, right? With George Floyd, he kept his knee on his neck long after he had fainted. Then the odds are that person's going to wake up in like a minute and they'll be perfectly fine. And so
Okay.
if you have a bunch of people with
If
batons,
I may interject,
Mhm.
how many fights were you in your lifetime?
No real ones, only in the gym.
Exactly.
Mhm.
So it is very easy to say, well, I got this training, that training, and I know how to do this, and if I do this, this will just put you out and everything else. if you're in a real situation and you have a 350, 380-pound mule that's high on cocaine and everything else, feels no pain, has the strength of 10 bulls, okay? Do you think that these guys are going to, let me try my chokehold on him and see if I can put him to sleep? No, they tried to push him. That's why, like I said, if you look at the whole video, the guys jump on him and put him down, and they're literally kneeling on the back of him, Rodney King, and he stood up like those men didn't even, like if you had balloons on him.
But that's what I'm
Okay.
talking about. A lack of knowing how to restrain a person. And the reason I say this is like one of the guys in the podcast, Jocko. He's had to take hostages and not hostages, captives before. And he's talked about some of the men he worked with who didn't have any training in jujitsu specifically. Because jujitsu is all about like using leverage as opposed to strength, holding people down, restraining limbs, things like that. And he said if you didn't know how to do that, guess what the guy's gonna do? Bash the man's head in like 13 times with the butt end of his gun until he eventually is either so woozy or so incapacitated. But Jocko trained all his men to be very high levels in jujitsu, and jujitsu, like, it's hard to emphasize how important of a martial art that is. That's the martial art that allows you to be the Bruce Lee, right? The guy who's like 100 pounds lighter, but I can still beat you, as opposed to striking.
But again, see, now you're getting in a totally different realm of things, because now we're getting into politics and discrimination. Because it used to be, if you wanted to be a state trooper, you had to be certain height, you had to be certain weight, you had to have certain amount of education. I don't think that's discriminatory, because if I get pulled over by a 4'6" cop that's 400 pounds and I'm drunk, I think I feel much more confident that I can kick his ass versus 6'5", 300-pound mule, right? You'll just look at him like, "Ooh, I'm messing with this guy." So we want to be inclusive of everyone. We don't want to discriminate against anyone.
Well, let me say there should definitely be requirements to join a high.
When I see a police officer and she's literally 5 feet tall and weighs 110 pounds, you know what? She looks good in a uniform. But in real world, I don't think she's really useful in a real situation.
I think what it comes down to, because you're talking about restrictions for entry, like, that is incredibly important. How fast can you run? How long can you run fast? How strong are you? How much training do you have if someone's being aggressive? How effectively can you handle that person? And I think it's possible to be small, lightweight, but you're still great cardio, strong enough to do the minimum requirements, and you have training so that your strength isn't as big of a factor if someone gets violent with you. If you can pass those requirements, by all means come in. If you can't, why the fuck are you entering this job? That I agree with that 100%.
Okay, well, but again, like I said, we've lost the focus of what police enforcement is about, right? The whole point of police used to be that you saw a police officer, you had respect for them, you didn't try to fight with them, you knew you were in trouble. That whole hands up. Yeah, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I screwed up. Let me put my hands behind the back. Lock me up. We'll let the lawyers fight it out. That has almost disappeared now, and especially in the minority neighborhoods. You see a cop, first thing you do, either run or run towards him and attack him. And then you're expecting to go, okay, how is that police officer supposed to react? Especially if they don't know if that individual has a gun, and you're thinking to yourself, this could be my last day on earth because I stepped in the wrong situation. So a lot of them panic, and it's not that their fault. It is their fault that they're there. They should have never had that job in the first place. And that's why I think if you want to be a police officer, there have to be certain physical, mental, and educational requirements. So you fit that profile. That's it. And we can't have that because that's discriminatory. So we're kind of working against ourselves. If you want to be a school cop where you're directing school buses, okay.
Well, even then, if a mass shooter comes in.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw what happened in Florida, right? All of these great police officers, and then some moron walks in with the gun, starts shooting kids, and the police officers are standing outside waiting for somebody to come with an armor to protect them. No, they're elementary school kids are being killed. You need to run in there with the gun and hope like hell. I hope I shoot him before he shoots me.
And then that comes so much back to training, right? Like, do you feel competent in that situation? And if you don't, like, you need to raise the fucking standards. That's my guess
Again,
anyway.
like I said, the mental requirement for that job should be much greater than it is.
Hmm?
This is not just like, ooh, 20 years and I get to retire. Job, I can eat all the donuts. You know, you, whether you like it or not, are supposed to defend the public against enemies. And sometimes that will require you either beating somebody up, even shooting somebody. Hopefully, that's the last resort. But if you don't have any other ability, because again, a 6'8" guy that weighs 400 pounds is running towards you, and you are a 5'1" woman weighing 110 pounds. I don't care what martial arts you know or anything else. That's like trying to attack a Buick. Okay, you may put a dent in it, but it will run you over regardless. So what do? Hopefully, you reach for the gun, that is the taser, and tase him, and hopefully that will stop him. But in some cases, even then, they just pull the freaking thing. So,
And having talked to some police officers, they seem to really be, or the ones I've talked to, very much seem to agree with the ethic. Like, I'm coming home tonight. Like, if
well, I mean, isn't that the whole point of life?
and
That I do want to have a job, and I do enjoy what I'm doing, but I don't want to die at my job.
there are weird, very niche situations where sacrificing yourself may be the best thing to do, but that's probably very rare, like extremely rare.
Again, in my opinion, if you're a police officer and you're seeing elementary, hell, if I was there and I saw elementary kids being shot at, I'd be running towards that guy because that's just something inside my head that triggers like you got to protect that child. These guys chose to literally hide behind a wall and wait, which it actually upsets me because that shouldn't have happened. And people like that should not be in a position like that. That's the problem. Is that because we want to not discriminate against anyone, we create a situation where we're basically shooting ourselves in our own foot.
And it's funny that that can have a so-called good intention behind it.
Well, no good intention goes unpunished. It's a stupid saying, but it
There's
is
some
the
truth
truth.
to
It
it.
is the
Yeah.
truth. You know, the problem with politicians is they never look at the unintended consequences. They pass one thing and they don't see what the result is. They don't care. My goal was to get this done. Why you got that done? But because you did this, now all of this happened. Well, we need to. This is what I call like the medicine. Here, take this pill. That will help this problem. Well, now I have this problem. Okay, well, take this pill. And next thing you know, you're 15 pills later. You feel like crap, but you're alive. Am I?
Is it worth it?
It's like, am I alive really? Of all I'm doing is just surviving, but not actually living. So it applies to society as well. Sometimes we just have to let things happen because they happen for a reason, and once it's done, it would resolve itself. Once we introduce ourselves in the middle of it, we may create bigger problems then.
May. And to actually be willing to accept when that's true.
Well, that's the other thing is nobody is willing to accept consequences for their actions anymore and say, you know what,
I fucked up.
yeah, I was wrong. I'm gonna resign because what I did cost lives. No, they don't care. They don't care. Like, whatever. Let me go play my golf again.
So to have people in power who actually care.
It's hard, very, very difficult to accomplish these days. Not too many of them are there. So, yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Are we done or are we continuing this?
Say we're pretty much done. What would be a nice, a finishing question, perhaps?
Okay.
All right, this is always a fun one. What is one of the biggest mistakes you made in your life and a lesson that's come from it?
the biggest mistake I've made in my life? Wow. I don't know. I made so many mistakes. um, I don't think there really is a biggest mistake. Like I said, I make mistakes every day, and I hope to learn from that. Look, when I got married to my first wife, pretty much everyone told me it was a mistake. I didn't listen. I got married. I loved the girl. Obviously, didn't work out. Uh, Created a lot of hardships financially, physically, mentally, because she bankrupted me and everything else. But would I change it? No, because of that mistake, I ended up with three wonderful girls. Well, I don't know about the wonderful part, but just kidding. I ended up with three wonderful girls. So it was a mistake to get married, but just like I said, like your leg, it it was a stupid mistake, but hopefully it taught you a lesson in life. So what it taught me was basically uh, listen to what other people say and pay more attention and try to look why. And that's why I keep on telling you, whatever you discuss, look at the facts from both sides before you make a statement, because unfortunately, with the modern technology and what is it, Wikipedia or whatever the heck it is, most of it is crap. There's nobody seems to be caring anymore about facts and results. It's just all about clicks and what feels good. And you know what? Feels good is like alcohol. You drink, everything is okay, everybody's happy, but then you have to wake up next day and you have a headache and you go, well, that didn't accomplish anything. So that's basically it. Like I said, as far as other mistakes, you know, stupidity with the cars, stupidity on the motorcycles.
No, that's a good one.
Okay. Even jobs that I thought, you know what, this would be good if I took this job, and then realized, that was a mistake. But you know what? I already committed myself. Let me put in 3, 4 years because I don't want to screw the company, but at the same time, I know I don't want to be here and just start looking for something else. But it opens up your eyes because then you're like, okay, I have to be more selective. I have to do better investigation prior to making a decision. So that's basically, I guess, the whole point of it is investigate, 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 look at facts, listen to people from both sides, look at everything, and then make a educated decision. I'm not saying it's going to be the right decision because at the end, you're human just like I am, and my brain goes in one direction, and all of my decisions are kind of influenced by that. But don't just make a decision without actually looking at everything that's out there. Look at the consequences both ways, pro, con, and then at the end, like I said, it's still maybe the wrong decision, but at least it's an educated decision.
Yeah, it's the best choice you got.
And you go, okay, you know what? Fucked up. I made a dumb decision, so let me deal with the consequences now, clean up the mess, and regroup and go the other way.
Yeah.
It happens. Like I said, I don't know anybody that's always made the right decision. And the minute they tell you that, they're lying.
Lying or just
Well,
lying, God, or stupid.
no, people do not want to admit that they make mistakes because it doesn't feel good. Okay? And like I said, a lot of times it has bad consequences. And you have to admit it that sometimes it's a financial consequence, sometimes a personal consequence, sometimes it's a relationship consequence. But again, like I told you in the beginning, be honest with yourself, be honest with everybody, and you don't have to remember anything. The minute you're not honest with yourself or somebody else, you will always have to remember that lie, and you will have to remember it with every individual that you made it with. And now you got to decide which lie I told whom, and how make sure so it's not worth it. At the end, you're gonna get caught. Everybody will get caught eventually. So don't do it. Just okay. You will not like what I'm about to say, but and deal with the results. It might not be a positive result, but at least you know that situation, that condition is done. Okay?
Thanks for coming on.
Hey, no problem. My pleasure. I think I'm gonna have a suntan on my